Happy Pride, y'all! Before we talk about our god today, I just wanted to point out that in the description down below, we have a list of different LGBTQ plus charities and nonprofits to donate to, or ways to educate yourself about Pride. I think that's very important, especially right now. But let's move on to our myth today, which definitely applies to Pride Month. I can't think of a better way of promoting awareness to our community than sharing the myth of the god of homosexual love and affection to Shen, who's the rabbit god. But we gotta start with some history. First, let's get acquainted with this timeline. Chinese history is rich and dynasties many, so let's go. Homosexuality, bisexuality, and gender variance is prevalent in Chinese mythology. Many spirits would choose same-sex partners, and that includes dragons, who enjoyed older gentlemen specifically. Granted, these stories come from ancient China, not the China we see today. Since it is Pride, let me give you a little extra tea. Bisexuality and sexual expression was pretty abundant all across Asia, spanning all the way to Europe. Alexander the Great. In fact, there is some evidence that shows homosexuality really wasn't a huge taboo pre-Tang Dynasty, which was in 618 AD. In ancient China, Confucianism and Taoism were the dominant religion or philosophies. In addition to Buddhism, that kind of came in and out as far as prevalence goes, but it was still there. Nothing in any of those faiths or doctrine say that queer equals bad. Confucianists believe in having good moral character to create cosmic harmony. One of the most important things to Confucians is to be devoted to your family. They believed in ancestor worship and parental authority. So basically, if you invest in the highest possible good for your family, you inevitably will strengthen society around you. So if everybody was doing it, then everybody would be trying to be awesome. So this also includes things like continuing family lines. It's possible there were families that had the husband-wife dynamic, but the husband may have had some male side piece. And I say husband because love between women was fairly suppressed, just generally. And this is in historical record, except there are a few sapphic phrases, eyebrow wiggle. In ancient China, there were brotherhoods with distinct hierarchies. Many would refer to each other as brothers, like younger brother, older brother. Some of these relationships were strictly for economic reasons, power, etc., but there were oftentimes sexual relationships. Throughout ancient Chinese history, it seemed to be mostly acceptable. That is, until things started to take a weird turn. The Tang Dynasty in 618 seemed to be the golden age for women. People were just starting to get all weird about the gays. It didn't become a serious issue until we hit the Qing Dynasty, literally 1,000 years later. The negative belief about queer people escalated in the Qing Dynasty and early Republic of China, which was the 19th and 20th century. Fujian is a region in China, and it was pretty isolated from the rest of the Chinese Empire all through ancient Chinese history. The capital, Fuzhou, developed a religious sect where boys began to worship a patron deity known as Hu Tianbao, or Shen. The story is that Hu Tianbao falls in love with this gorgeous regional inspector who just arrived to Fujian. One day, Hu Tianbao surprised the man because he was hiding himself in the bathroom to sneak a look at him. He was peeping. Anyway, so Hu Tianbao confessed to this act, and the governor was enraged and had him beaten to death. 1 month after Hu Tianbao's death, he appears to a young man from his hometown in a dream. He claimed that since his crime was one of love, the spirits of the underworld actually decided to right the injustice by appointing him the god and safeguarder of homosexual affections, and his name was now escalated to Shen, or the rabbit god. After his dream, the man did do exactly what he was asked, which is pretty amazing. He erected the shrine to Hu Tianbao, which became very popular in Fujian, so much so that in late Qing times, the cult of Hu Tianbao, or Tu'er Shen, was targeted for extermination by the Qing government. Tu'er Shen being referred to as the rabbit god doesn't actually have to do with actual rabbits, by the way, or the god Tu'er Ye, who is the actual rabbit god from Old Beijing. The reason he is actually called the rabbit god is because local slang for gay men in Imperial China was, quote, rabbit. The origins of Tu'er Shen are mostly unknown. The history of Hu Tianbao has largely been forgotten even by the temple keepers. He's not featured in the Taoist pantheon, or clearly not really the Buddhist one either. And perhaps he was exclusively a regional god, or maybe even a folk hero from the Fujian region that had a cult following and then spread throughout this area and over to Taiwan. However, there are still remnants and temples dedicated to Tu'er Shen, and even feature statues or tapestries with two men, usually it's an older and younger man, embracing and holding each other or holding hands in a loving embrace. It wasn't that long ago that a Taoist priest founded a temple in Taiwan for Tu'er Shen. Many people will go visit the temple and pray, hoping to find their forever partner. This temple also performs a ceremony for gay couples at the world's only religious shrine for homosexuals in the entire, just think about that. A really important concept in East Asian belief is the red thread of fate. The deity that's typically in charge of this for heterosexual marriages is Yue Lao, or the lunar matchmaker god. So the idea is that there is this invisible red cord around the finger of those you are destined to meet, and eventually you will be tied together, or you have been forever, but eventually you will get there and meet, and that's your true love. Tu'er Shen actually provides this thread of fate for queer couples. It is actually really beautiful. Right now, we need a god like Tu'er Shen, a protector for the LGBTQ plus community, and a supporter. His story is also one that is not unfamiliar. Hu Tianbao was brutally killed because he fell in love with a man, and that was socially unacceptable. Discrimination and violence against the LGBTQ plus community is extremely present and at large, and we all know, especially in the United States. You can find ways to help down in the description down below, but always reach out to your community. Please participate in Pride. Learn and seek out other resources for you, just so you know, or for your loved ones who are in need. You also have an ally here in this corner in Kaiti Draws, and I will not be accepting anything else, period. So that's why I wanted to bring Tu'er Shen to us during Pride Month. I think he's a beautiful deity, and I love that he's making his strides now in this current day. Thank you so much for watching this episode about Tu'er Shen. Make sure to check out some of the other playlists about all the other gods out there. And if you do like my art, make sure to check out my socials, which is in the description down below. Keep watching, learn about mythology, follow, subscribe. Thanks so much for your continued support. It means the world to me.